Stones. Stones. No.
Thank you for listening to my daddy's podcast.
Hey, don't let these tears fool you. There's all dog around this mug. I'm good.
Hey, what's going on, Who That Nation? Oh, my bad. Hey, what's going on, Who That Nation? It is yours truly, TJ Jones. And yes, I am the host of the State of the Saints podcast. And before I get started, I just want to know, can everybody hear me? I'm actually doing this right now on a new streaming platform. So I'm just trying to make sure everybody can hear me. Can everybody hear me? Can everybody hear me? If you can hear me, clap once. And if you can hear me, clap twice. And if you can hear me, clap 3 times. So this is a new streaming platform that I'm on. So I'm trying something new, trying to test some things out. But just want to say thank you all for checking out the State of the Saints podcast, where we talk New Orleans Saints. I really do appreciate your time. Thank you so much for being here. Before we get started, got a few little church announcements. Just want to let everybody know, coming up at 8 p.m. Eastern, that's 7 p.m. Central, I'll be going live on Bleacher Report. Now, I'll put the link in the description, but you have to download the Bleacher Report app. All right. On that, I am going to be predicting every single game for the New Orleans Saints. That's right. We breaking tradition here. All right. But Bleacher Report, for Bleacher Report, I'm going to do it. All right. So download the app, the Bleacher Report app. I am going to go over the games for the New Orleans Saints and be giving my predictions for each and every game. So download the Bleacher Report app and make sure that you click on that link after you download the app. It'll bring you directly to me and you can follow. So I want you to be able to check that out. On this edition, we're going to be discussing a little bit of the New Orleans Saints schedule. As you all know, the schedule came out a few hours ago, and Saints fans are excited. Some Saints fans are scratching their heads. Some Saints fans are wondering where the New Orleans Saints are going to be placed. But all in all, this is an exciting time. I mean, it's no more asking and wishing. There's no more guessing, right? We know what's in front of the New Orleans Saints. So we know what the New Orleans Saints have to do in order for them to get back to postseason play. But I want to give a special shout out to everybody out there. And I apologize, but I don't have the link for the After Show boys and put the comments in the chat, all right? But shouts out to all the After Show boys out there and the After Show girls out there, and shouts out to all the people that's commenting in the chat right now. The platform that I'm using right now is Streamlabs, so I'm kind of new to this whole Streamlabs thing, so we might have a few hiccups every now and then, but I just wanted to use a different platform to try to do something a little bit different for everybody. You all know I'm always trying to find ways to make sure that your viewing and your listening pleasure is always upgraded, and trying to do the best that I can. Special shout out to everybody that checked out the 2 interviews on yesterday. The one I put out with NFL Network analyst Steve Weish, a friend to the show, and shouts out to Mr. Steve Weish. He's always kind enough to come on the show, and my guy Emery Hunt. And on tomorrow, we're going to have another friend to the show, 2-time Super Bowl champion, former Pittsburgh Steeler, and now he works with CBS Sports HQ. My guy, Brian McFadden, will be here tomorrow evening. So that's going to be around 7:30 p.m. Eastern. So if you're not doing anything, maybe you're after show boy, after show girl, make sure you check it out. My interview with Brian McFadden, and also my interviews with Steve Weish and Emery Hunt. But I want to say to everybody out there, let's go ahead and take a look at this schedule. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at it. And I apologize for it being a little bit blurry. Maybe it's blurry for you all, but it's a little bit blurry for me. I actually went to the eye doctor today, took an eye exam, learned that my right eye is a little bit weaker than my left. But I apologize if it looks a little bit blurry. Like I said, man, it's a new platform, so I'm trying to try some things out. But as we all can see, the Saints 2024 schedule. This is shouts out to John Hendricks of Sports Illustrated. This actually is from him, the article that he put out earlier today. Always doing some great things. Shouts out to John. But week 1, the Saints will be taking on the Carolina Panthers, and that will be a noon kickoff game on Fox. Week number 2, the Saints will be taking on the Dallas Cowboys. Week number 3, the Philadelphia Eagles. Week number 4, they will be taking on the Falcons. I'm pretty sure I'm going to that game. We also have week 5. The Saints will have a Monday night football game, their first primetime game of the season against the Super Bowl champion, the Kansas City Chiefs. Week number 6, the Saints will be taking on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in Tampa. Well, in the Superdome, excuse me. Week number 7, they'll be taking on Sean Payton returns to the Superdome. The Saints will be taking on the Broncos on Thursday night. That is a 7:15 game. That's a primetime game. Week number 8, the Saints will be taking on the Chargers. They will be at the Chargers, and that is a 3:05, 4:05 Eastern kickoff. Week number 9, the Saints will be taking on the Carolina Panthers in Charlotte. I'll be at that game also. Week number 10, the Saints will be taking on the Atlanta Falcons. That game will be a home game. Week number 11, the Saints will be taking on the Cleveland Browns. The Saints can have a bye week, week 12. Week 13, they take on the Rams. For some apparent reason, man, the Saints always play the Rams every single year, but I'm glad that they actually get the Rams this time inside of the Superdome. Week number 14, the Saints take on the Giants. Week 15, they take on the Commanders. I apologize if y'all hear thunder in the background. Got some severe weather in the forecast. You also have week 16. The Saints go to Lambeau Field. That's a cold one right there. They take on the Green Bay Packers. Week 17, Derek Carr revenge game. You have the Saints taking on the Raiders, and the Saints end the season week 18 at the Bucks. That game to be determined. So we all can see the Saints have a few primetime games, mostly Thursday night, a Monday night game against the Kansas City Chiefs. And, a few games where the New Orleans Saints have to play some NFC East teams. They play all the teams in the AFC West, and they also play, look like all the teams in the NFC East as well as the South. So looking at this schedule, man, some people look at this schedule and they say to themselves, well, you know what? I mean, this looks like an easy schedule. The Saints should win the first game of the season. I don't like the Cowboys. All I'm saying is, I know how we do things every single year, Who Dat Nation. I know how we roll. I know how we do it. What we do is, let me take this off the screen. What we do is, we look at the New Orleans Saints like we did in years past. And in my humble opinion, with all due respect, when Dennis Allen is your head coach, I mean this respectfully, based on what I've seen. This isn't like me throwing taking shots at Dennis Allen. Based on what I've seen, it is hard for me to sit up here and say, "Oh, the Saints are going to win this game. Oh, the Saints are going to win that game." People are just automatically giving the Saints the 1-0 not right now, the notch in the belt 1-0 against the Carolina Panthers, as if the Saints didn't struggle against the Carolina Panthers in the two games that they actually played. It wasn't like the Saints blew the doors off the Carolina Panthers. So if you combine the fact that maybe the Carolina Panthers have gotten a little bit better. Now, we know what Dave Canales did with Baker Mayfield. And Baker Mayfield did come into the Superdome and put up some numbers. And we know that Carolina has improved offensively by adding some running backs. They added some wide receivers to the room. And also, they already had a really good defense. That game is not a gimme. I cannot sit up here and just honestly say, emphatically say, that the New Orleans Saints are going to beat the Carolina Panthers or any game of that matter. All I know is you have to go out there and play the games that are there, right? Whoever you go up against, you got to go out there and you got to fight. And then also, I'm hearing about, the Saints got the second easiest schedule in the National Football League. I'm not buying that either, because if you look at the Chargers, you look at the Kansas City Chiefs, you look at the Cowboys, you look at even the Denver Broncos. These teams are not easy teams to beat. Now, you may look at these teams' schedule, but I look at the circumstances. You look at, let's just say, for example, the Los Angeles Chargers. Brandon Staley was not a good head coach. The team clearly gave up on him. We all saw that on a Thursday night when the Raiders beat them down and they had 40-plus points at halftime. That was a team just saying, we don't want you here anymore. But you have now a really good head coach in Jim Harbaugh, who the last time we seen him took a snake-bitten team in Michigan. No disrespect. Michigan has been great throughout the years, but they haven't won anything in a long time. He brought Michigan to a national championship. And even though Michigan hasn't had a national championship since the time they won in years, they still were winning double-digit games each season. We seen Jim Harbaugh take the San Francisco 49ers to the Super Bowl. We seen all these things. So to say, the Chargers weren't very good, the Chargers didn't make the playoffs, to say that the Saints are just going to walk into SoFi Stadium and beat the Chargers, I just think that that's just wishful thinking. And we also know what Justin Herbert did against the New Orleans Saints in his rookie season. The Saints basically had to scratch, bite, and claw their way to that victory over the Chargers. They won in overtime. I mean, Justin Herbert, he was out there wheeling and dealing. So to say that these games are gimmies, I just think that that's just wishful thinking. And no, you can't sit up here and just say, TJ, you're not a real Saints fan, because miss me with all that stuff right there. You know what, people who say those type of things, people that can't really put their argument together. Because everything that I say right now, you honestly, if you're being truthful, without you just wearing the rose-colored glasses of the New Orleans Saints, you have to look up here. You have to look out here and say, I don't know why my Siri keep on popping on. I apologize for that. But anyway, yeah, I mean, who's going to sit up here and just say, oh, man, the Saints are going to win this football game? I mean, you got to be a true homer for that. Even the biggest Saints supporter out there has to come to grips and realize that there's a possibility that this team, could not win a lot of football games going up against some of these talented football teams. These teams were a few wins away from making the postseason. Some of these teams actually were in the postseason. One of these teams won the Super Bowl. So, as far as I'm concerned, the Saints are going to really have to put their best foot forward. And this is going to be, in my opinion, a do or die year for Dennis Allen. This is do or die for him. If Dennis Allen doesn't go out here and lead the Saints to the postseason, there are no more excuses. I don't want to hear about, we needed this. We got a first-year offensive coordinator. I'm not trying to hear none of that. If Dennis Allen cannot deliver the goods. If the Saints cannot make the postseason, Dennis Allen needs to go. It's just that simple. It's plain and simple. They need to move on from Dennis Allen because you have no more excuses after this. You got the offensive coordinators. You changed around your offensive staff. Last year, you changed around your defensive staff. You got offensive linemen. You got running backs. You got wide receivers. You got a defense. You got a good secondary. No excuses. The Saints should be at least a top 5 team in the NFC. And if I will even give them this, a top 7, you got to make the playoffs. You have got to make the playoffs. It's just that plain and simple. I cannot take any more excuses because what the Saints organization will be doing is alienating a fan base. And we all know how that goes. Nobody wants to have their intelligence questioned. So if you try to sit up here and try to make an excuse for Dennis Allen going into year 4, people are going to unplug from this football team and not really invest in it until this dude is gone. And people are ready to boo. Don't get me wrong. Like, people are ready to boo this football team. If the Saints come out week 1 against the Carolina Panthers and they look about as stale as bread left open on the counter all night long, people are ready to boo. And miss me with that stuff like, man, what we booing for? Man, they giving it they all. Miss me with that. It's time to win. It's put up or shut up time. Put up or shut up. It's just that simple. I'm going to read some of your comments, and I do apologize. Some of, like, this new platform doesn't allow me to put it up on the screen, but I will read them, and I will acknowledge each person. But shouts out to Chosen. Chosen says, how the hell we have an easy schedule when we play the Chiefs, Cowboys, Eagles, Chargers, and Broncos? Probably because the Broncos didn't make the playoffs, the Chargers didn't make the playoffs, and, you had a couple of teams on there like the Raiders who didn't make the playoffs. And most of what they're talking about comes from the South. Carolina not being a really good team last year. The Falcons not being a really good team last year. Like I said, some of the teams that didn't make the postseason, that is what they're judging it on. But you can make an argument if a few things went each one of these teams' way, especially the Raiders. They probably would have made the postseason. Like, if they would have fired Josh McDaniel earlier in the season and had Antonio Pierce as their coach, who's to say that they wouldn't have made the postseason? I mean, they went out there and they beat the Chiefs. So who's to say that if they would have gotten rid of Josh McDaniel, let's say week 3 or week 4, and Antonio Pierce had opportunity to actually build this locker room, who's to say that the Raiders wouldn't have made the postseason? They got some talent. So, I mean, I'm not expecting them to make the postseason this year. I mean, I still think they got some quarterback issues. No disrespect to Gardner Minshew. I like the swag and all. And, I like Aiden O'Connell, but that ain't moving the needle. DJ, D Smooth, says 9-8. Broncos not good. The Broncos may not be good, but, I mean, that's just one team. 8-9, Dennis Allen gets fired, Cam Jordan retires, Kamara gets traded, and DeMario gets released. I don't know about the only thing I think I differ is DeMario Davis getting released. I can see a scenario where Alvin Kamara gets traded, and I can see a scenario where Cam Jordan just retires. But I definitely can see a scenario where Dennis Allen gets fired. I think we all can see that if he don't deliver the goods. Chantel says Browns not easy either. Oh, no, absolutely not. I mean, the Cleveland Browns had the number 1 defense in the entire NFL last season. So, I mean, you got to put some respect on the Browns' name. Let's see. DJ D Smooth says a win is a win. Yeah, I mean, who cares? Like, I don't care how you win. Just win the freaking game. I don't care how the wins come. Just go out there and put your best foot forward and get those dubs, I mean, that's the way I look at it. Let's see. Strolling down a little bit more, Dana says, we can't really lose if we miss the playoffs and DA gets fired. It's a win. Dana, there's a lot of Saints fans that echo your sentiments. If people feel like, well, if the Saints don't make the postseason and Dennis Allen gets fired, they feel like that's like winning a playoff game or going to the Super Bowl. A lot of Saints fans do not like Dennis Allen right now. They do not like Derek Carr right now, and they feel like these two individuals are the problem. But once again, I'm going to continue to say this. You know how you change the narrative and change the way people think about you, you win. If you start winning, nobody's going to say anything. People are probably going to start like supporting you. People will probably start saying they're sorry, unless they're just extremely petty. But to absolve yourself of this stench of mediocrity, you got to start winning football games. It's just that plain and simple. Let's see. Strolling down, Philly says Browns has a top 5 defense. They have the number 1 defense. I really hope Kubiak plays aggressive and actually has a game plan against each team. I think he probably will. I think that Clint Kubiak will put his best foot forward. I think they're going to put an emphasis on the run. Hopefully this offensive line is where it needs to be. But if you talk to any offensive lineman, I can remember, talking to Zach Strief back in the day. He talked about how the Saints wanted to throw the ball all over the place, and he would go to Sean and say, "Hey, man, man, can we run a football?" So they like to run block. So you're speaking their language. They definitely would love to run block more than pass protect. You ain't never lie, says Malcolm. One Smoke says, hold on. I apologize, One Smoke. I think I just lost what you was about to say. One Smoke says, we have a top 10 defense. If our offense can be top 10, we good. Yeah, I mean, if the offense can put some points on the board, take advantage of the opportunities. When the defense gives you the football with a turnover and they give it to you in plus territory, how about scoring a touchdown? Instead of kicking a field goal. I mean, it looked like Blake Grupe was trying to be MVP last year in some cases. And, I just want the Saints to have an aggressive approach. Like, be aggressive. Be as aggressive as you possibly can and go out there and put your best foot forward. And no, stop playing, just to try to get out of there with a win. Like, show everybody that you for real. And, I just think that the Saints are just – sometimes I feel like they play scared sometimes, especially like when they have a lead. If they come out there and they lead at halftime, all they trying to do is just sit on a lead. Run, punt it back to them. Okay, defense, go out there. And then all of a sudden, if a team start getting hot, you relied on that defense to keep this lead for so long, and the offense just going out there basically just, playing not to lose, you end up losing a football game. That's what happened to me, in my opinion. That's what happened against the Green Bay Packers. And you can probably name some of the other games that happened last season where the Saints basically just kind of went into the fetal position. Like, I just want this team to have some swag, man, some confidence in themselves. Like, it's embarrassing to watch this team sometimes. When you know that they're that talented, and to me, they just be playing, just to fight another day. Like, all this talk at the podium talking about having fight and grit, like, miss me with that stuff. Like, it's good to have fight and grit, but at least have a win attached to it. And that's what Saints fans want. Jerry says, I am tired of watching these teams make the playoffs, and the Saints are not in it. This is the year the Saints do it. I hope so. I hope so. Or, you're going to have some very, very angry Saints fans out there. Very, very angry. Chosen says, you know who our coach is, OG, Jerry G. We couldn't win winnable games last season. What's going to change? That's a good point. They got a lot to prove. And by they, I mean Dennis Allen and Derek Carr. Because people are looking at them as the problem. There was a little dissension in the locker room. Some people felt like, Derek Carr was getting preferential treatment. And that's good when your quarterback is a beast. I'm pretty sure Drew Brees got preferential treatment, but who gonna argue with that? He's freaking Drew Brees, right? But when you're a quarterback that basically hasn't really done anything in your career besides just, you have a narrative behind you, and that narrative is, oh, if you had a better team, you'll win more football games, and you coming in there like you done won multiple playoff games and league MVPs, like you're not Aaron Rodgers. So even though you changed teams and a lot of people felt that you were better than what the Saints actually had, you got to prove it. And I just think that when Derek Carr came in, he had that mind frame like everybody was just going to sing his praises because he's been a starter in the league for 10 years at the time? Like, nah, bruh, you got to win some football games. And a lot of those guys in there won a lot more games than you have in your career. So people were wondering, like, why was this guy getting preferential treatment? Like, you may have a contract that looks like you're a superstar, but, in the eyes of the NFL world and prognosticators and analytics, you're a jag. So if you're just a jag with a big bankroll, like, man, you can't have preferential treatment. You got to earn that. You got to earn it. And that's the reason why Saints fans feel the way they do about Derek Carr. And I don't care what some of these people that's coming out here talking about analytics and, if the Saints had this. Like, what's the excuse for the last 10 years of his career? Oh, they didn't have a good team. Year 2, oh, they didn't have a good team. Like, come on, man. How many times have we seen teams elevate? Yeah, because they have good quarterback play. Teams that have no business in a postseason because they have good quarterback play. So when somebody come up there and start talking about analytics and giving this dude a chance, like, miss me with that stuff. It comes a time where you have to see a quarterback rise to the occasion. Not when the defense playing soft as a baby's ass, you go out there and you throw for 300 yards and then all of a sudden your stat line looking like you all world or something. Nah, bro. You got to win a football game. It's about wins and losses. I'd rather have a quarterback, and I'm telling the truth, I'd rather have a quarterback that's about as mediocre as a C+, but won't put me in a position for my team to lose consistently, than a quarterback that basically is a tease, a quarterback tease. Throwing for 300 yards, and if you ain't watched the game, ooh, boy, that boy lit it up. Why they lost? Oh, man, that team ain't good. But he did what he needed to do. Did he? Did he? I mean, Dak Prescott, how many times he thrown for 400 yards? But in the first half, he have a turnover that was just a head scratch. But when it's garbage time, when they playing prevent defense and the field is so wide open because the defense wants you to keep the clock running, them stats looking otherworldly. So that's why when people say, oh, oh, man, look at his stat line. Look what he had. They start putting up his stats. Like, so what? If you have 3 touchdowns, like, for example, if you have 3 touchdowns and the other quarterback have 2 touchdowns, but the game is tied, then all of a sudden you get the ball in your hands and you take a head scratch of a sack, an inexcusable interception you throw. Guess what? You can't sit up here and say, well, if the team would have did this. No, bruh. No way. Like, what happened throughout the entire game? So it's not about gaudy stats and all that kind of stuff. What did you do when it mattered most? So Derek Carr got to deliver the goods, man. Saints fans are going to continue to not believe in this dude. I ain't never seen this before in my life, to be honest. I've never seen a fan base turn on a guy so quickly as Saints fans have done with Derek Carr. Like, it's insane, like, the way that Saints fans have turned on this guy. So he got to win back the Saints fan base and get back in their good graces. And you do that once again by winning. By the way, TJ, I saw you subscribe to my channel. Thanks for that. Oh, man, Mike, of course, man. Of course, man. I'm always going to support you, man. I'm glad that you started the channel, man, and keep up the good work, buddy. I do believe Rattler will be the Saints' future starter, but he got to earn it, beat out Hayner first. Yeah, look, you got to go out there and understand that it's a marathon, not a sprint, right? Nobody is going to appoint you and anoint you as the starting quarterback, especially not this regime, especially like them paying Derek Carr the way that they paid him. Now, some people would say, oh, man, that ain't a lot of money, but at the same time, if you're a $100 million quarterback, like that's a lot of money to the average Joe Blow. So in a NFL realms, it may not be a lot, but to you and me, that's a lot of doggone money. That's a lot of doggone money. So you got to go out there and do it. But all in all, Spencer Rattler has to prove himself. You got to prove yourself to the coaches. You got to go out here and camp and compete. And if you look good and Derek Carr struggles, that might be your opportunity to come in and try to make a name for yourself. Let's see. Philly says the quarterback room is open. It's up to Spencer and what he does in the offseason. Yeah, I mean, if you stay focused, everybody knows about his arm talent. Everybody knows about his athletic ability. Everybody knows about the comparisons that he had and all of the fanfare he came out of high school with. But man, it's the National Football League. It is what have you done for me lately? And we've seen guys who have been great, arm talent. Like Jeff George had some really great arm talent. Bubby Brister had some arm talent. Scott Mitchell had some arm talent. Like that don't mean anything. You got to go out there. You got to get it done. And if he can get it done, then, it'll be a different story. But, it don't matter what you did in college. Don't matter what you came out of high school with. It's the National Football League. Everybody's good. Let's see. If Spencer wins the quarterback too, we will see him play once Derek Carr stinks it up. Let's see. Because he always seems to get hurt when he plays bad and have to come out and the game the way Spencer comes in and boom, magic. Well, I tell you what, Chosen, this is probably going to be one of them years where he doesn't do that. I really feel that way. To me, I think that I honestly feel like I shouldn't be saying this, but this is the way I feel. I think sometimes, like, this dude is, and I'm talking Derek Carr, sometimes, man, he can try to shift some blame. And I do think that he has, like, a level of pettiness inside of him. Like, to a point where if he feels like somebody isn't speaking his language or, not, liking, what he's doing, he might go out there. And he probably, felt like, well, if y'all want Jameis, where here he is. But I also think that he knew that this coaching staff wasn't going to, they wasn't supporting Jameis. They were trying everything in their power. They were trying everything in their power not to get this dude on the field. And some people would say, well, that ought to tell you something. Well, not really. Not really. Because what it's telling me is they understood that Jameis Winston had unwavering support from the Who Dat Nation. And if this guy would have went out there, not like our people, well, what happened in the Green Bay game? He came in the third quarter and then he didn't do nothing. I'm talking about giving this dude a week to practice with the first team and allow him to play in a game from start to finish. And if Jameis Winston will somehow light it up, throw for 300 yards, 4 touchdowns or something like that, offense looking like magic out there, I mean explosive, they could not justify bringing back Derek Carr. So they honestly would rather, and this is another thing. This is something that I've seen also. I think Mickey Loomis spoke to somebody on Sirius XM, and they asked him about Derek Carr, and he started talking about, Derek Carr had injuries, and it kind of affected his play. My question is, if you knew this, if you knew that Derek Carr was injured, if you knew that Derek Carr's injuries were affecting him and the way that he played, why in the hell would you allow him to go out there? To subject him to scrutiny, number one. And number two, if it wasn't just about Jameis Winston, if it wasn't just about Jameis, then, why wouldn't you do that? Why wouldn't you allow Jameis to play in the first place? If you didn't have an axe to grind, like, I don't care if you are the biggest Jameis Winston hater on the planet. You have to believe that 100% Jameis Winston is better than a 45 to 50% Derek Carr. But to me, I felt like they knew if Jameis Winston was to go out there and look better in a full game, look better than Derek Carr has that entire time, during the time he was hurt, they could not justify putting him back on the field. And they didn't want to do that. So that's the reason why, they tried to put him back out there. And they rather him go through the motions and play hurt and honestly set the team back. And I honestly feel also that's probably why the locker room was upset with him, because they knew that he didn't have no business being out there and that he was limited. And we also knew that the New Orleans Saints were trying everything they could to try to make this dude look comfortable and feel comfortable. And I don't feel bad about saying this, because if you're talking about making a quarterback room better, why in the world would you start the offseason off signing Nathan Peterman, having Jake Hayner, who has never taken a regular season snap, and Kellen Mond, who is a quarterback journeyman? You were trying to make Derek Carr comfortable. And I honestly feel like if the Saints weren't following this draft board like they did, they probably wouldn't have picked Spencer Rattler. They were trying to make this quarterback room as least threatening as they possibly can. But when Spencer Rattler came along, now you have a Jameis Winston situation times 1,000. Because now you have a quarterback who nobody has ever seen take a NFL regular season snap. You have a quarterback that has unlimited potential, great arm talent, and everybody knows that. And the only thing detractors can say is, oh, look what he did in college. But we have seen on countless occasions where guys may have some issues in college, they get to the pros, and you don't ever hear from them again. And they are extremely productive. So you found yourself in a Jameis Winston situation time 1,000 now. Because now you have a young quarterback who has years. He could possibly play for years, for a decade plus, behind a quarterback that very few people in the Who Dat Nation right now believe in. So, there you go. Let's see. Brian says it should be a run, 60% run, 40% pass. I wouldn't mind anything like that. I think that would be, like a good blend. Dana says true. L Dub for real says it's like they sacrificed the team and wins for their own foolish pride. In a way, they did, in my opinion. In a way, they did. Because it seemed like they would rather just go down with the ship being Derek Carr, than to try to do something that's different. And that, honestly, that will make a team turn on you in a second. And I think that's probably why a lot of those players were upset, because they knew that they were forcing the issue of Derek Carr. Like, it's okay to try to force the issue if the dude 100%. That's cool. Like, okay, man, that's your guy. But when this dude had 2 concussions, a shoulder injury, and all these other underlying injuries where you can barely get up out of bed or throw the football, wasn't practicing with the team, it did all of a sudden, wow, all of a sudden on Saturday you doing walkthroughs and Sunday you playing? Guys like, man, wait a minute here, man. Like, are we really doing what's in the best? Are we really doing what's best for the team, or what are we doing trying to keep up appearances here? And when guys are putting their bodies on the line, and in some cases their lives on the line, and you're not doing what's best, and you're trying to do it in as L Dub would say, for foolish pride, man, dudes ain't buying that. And that's frustrating. And guys are, look, and I know some people will be like, well, if the guys felt that way, they would have came out there and said it. No, they wouldn't. Because these dudes want to be paid. These guys are professionals. You're not going to get the real deal Holyfield. You're going to get a watered down PR version of what's really going on. Guys aren't going to tell you, but I'm pretty sure their wives know. They family members know. I'm pretty sure the guys within the organization know. When guys walk into their car at night, I bet you they know. Yeah, you can't always take what people say at face value. Because ain't nobody going to sit up here and jeopardize a check by saying, man, this dude suck and get this dude up off my team, or man, he was hurt and, I feel like he should have sat and took a seat. You'll probably hear that like when dudes retire, when they write their memoir or something, but them dudes ain't about to tell you that stuff right now. But it's amazing to me how people say, well, if they would have said I would have understood. Like, dude, who really, like, honestly, who is, like, besides Michael Thomas, who just basically just had enough? Who on the Saints team that you can really honestly say is going to give you the real deal? Who do you feel like is going to honestly just be open and that honest? You're not going to really see that because guys want to continue to get a paycheck. If they can't get a paycheck with the Saints, they want to go to another team. And if that other team is seeing them basically like lambasting a player or a coach, that might mess up their bottom line. That might make that team reluctant to try to sign them. So those guys aren't going to be telling you like, oh, man, this guy sucks. Oh, man, get this dude out of my face, man. Oh, man, you should have sat on the bench. You're not going to hear that. You'll probably hear when guys retire. But it's amazing to me how so many people are just that naive to just feel like, oh, they ain't said so. It ain't true. Like, okay, believe what you want to believe. Whatever helps you sleep at night. C. Bama says, who that? I think Rattler could take over, though. Hayner on PEDs. I say PED. I said PEDs, but PEDs. Let's see. Brenton says those first 5 games. Holla back, Jack. You ain't lying. They got. I'm telling you, the first line of trouble. If the Saints start, I'm talking about if they come out and they looking like slaw, and they end up like not performing well. Lord have mercy. Yeah, that Superdome gonna lose they freaking mind. Slim South says, looking at the schedule, it might be a rough start to the season. Yeah, it might be. But I tell you what, if it is a rough start to the season, it's gonna be a rough season for Dennis Allen and Derek Carr. They got to get it done. I think Derek, being a veteran, limited our patience with him. After spending 9 years with the Raiders, there's no way he should have played so poor with a fresh start. Tama, I think that is true. I think that's in some cases you can say that. But also, I take a look at the fact that we had high expectations for Derek Carr. Not everybody. I'm not talking about everybody. All right. Everybody did not have high expectations for Derek Carr. I understand that. But for the most part, when people felt that in some cases he was, an upgrade, they felt like he had the goods to help the Saints because we felt that the Saints were a good team already. All they needed was somebody to kind of give them a little bit of a jump start. And for those that didn't feel like Jameis was the answer, they felt Derek was. So he came in with high expectations. And when people started to see, lackluster play, that's what kind of soured him. It's almost like if you date somebody and y'all go out on one date, right? Or better yet, you don't even go out on a date with this person, but this person is just so beautiful. Maybe you see this person like talking, to a friend or talking to somebody, and you're like, man, I like the way that person think, man. I like the way she think. I like the way he think. So all of a sudden, like, you ask them out. And then all of a sudden, like, you ask them out and they're just like the complete opposite of everything that you thought they were. You'll get mad and frustrated, like, man, I can't believe this. You might not start trusting people at face value anymore. And I think that's what it is. It's the expectation. It's what you expected from Derek Carr. And he didn't live up to that. So because of that, so many people are frustrated with him. But I think it's more so like the expectation frustrates Saints fans more so than Derek Carr, because we're not watching Derek Carr the way that we watched Jameis Winston for the Saints or Drew Brees for the Saints. And I'll say Drew Brees because during that time, Drew Brees was the quarterback for the Saints. We didn't watch it, right? You're looking at the stat line. You're looking at the completion percentage. You're looking at highlights of Raider games. You're not really watching the whole totality, the whole game, right? You kind of just getting cliff notes. So when you look at 33 4-quarter comebacks, 60 plus 68, 69% completion percentage, like, you're like, okay, man, we can do something with that with some better talent. But when you see it up close and it ain't what you think that it was, it can be frustrating. Chantel says, TJ, do you think they will play Spencer at all other than maybe preseason? Not if Derek Carr is the quarterback. Not if he can play. No, I don't. I feel like they are going to go down with this ship. Who did we finesse to play Kansas City on Monday night? I don't know who they finesse, but some people like, man, the Saints got a primetime game. Look, the the NFL world is looking at that game as a showcase for Patrick Mahomes to go out there and for the Kansas City Chiefs to try to light it up. Because to me, man, the NFL don't believe in the Saints. Think about this. Like, some people like, man, they got 4 primetime games. 3 of the primetime games on what? Thursday night, right? Thursday? They're on Thursday night. Now think about how NFL players think about Thursday night. Coaches think about Thursday night. The quick turnaround. Like, that's not yeah, it's a primetime game, but to me, that's a sucker game to me. Like, you have to go out there and give it your all on a Sunday and then turn back around. You're not really fully healed up, and you got to go out there and play, what, 3-4 days later? Well, I'll say 3 days later. You got to play 3 days later. So to me, it's like, yeah, it's a primetime game, but it's not an easy game to play. Yeah, it's not an easy game to play. Like that Monday night game, I consider that a primetime game. But to me, I feel like this is one of those games where they're gonna be hyping up Patrick Mahomes like a mug. They probably like look at this game like, oh, Patrick Mahomes should be willing and dealing at this time. And even though the Saints have a really good defense, this is Patrick Mahomes' time to go out there to play against a struggling Dennis Allen-led football team. Even though you got to give the Saints credit with defense, nobody's looking at that. People are looking at the New Orleans. Like, we know that the Saints have a good defense. We know that Dennis Allen, his bright spot is defense. But in NFL world, they look at Dennis Allen not being a really good coach, and the Saints haven't been to the playoffs in 3 seasons. And this is the perfect team for Patrick Mahomes to go out there and, put on a show. But I honestly feel like that's not going to happen. Like, I get to that on Bleacher Report, but I think that they're looking at this like, oh, this is a game where Patrick Mahomes can really light it up and really show how great he is. Let's see. Chantel says Jameis Winston is starting for Cleveland for the first 5 games. No, is he? No, I don't think that is. I think Deshaun Watson might be playing, right? I think Deshaun Watson is healthy enough to play. What's really going to tick me off? This is from Chosen. He says, what really will tick me off if the Saints come out and beat our tough opponents and lose to someone we should easily beat, and that loss determines our playoff destiny. Doesn't that sound familiar? Well, anything other than the playoffs, in my opinion, I think the Saints need to take a really close look at Dennis Allen, regardless. Like, this should be do or die for Dennis Allen. And I'm not saying that because I just want Dennis Allen to be fired. Look, I want the Saints to be successful. I want the Saints to win. But look, we've been flirting, and we've been trying to clean it up, and we've been showing fighting grit for the last, this will be the 3rd season. Ain't that much grit and much fight in the world. Ain't that much cleaning up in the world. For real. I don't think Mary Poppins cleaned up like this. I don't think Mr. Clean cleaned up like this. For real. Like, I don't think the Swiffer Sweeper can clean up like this. Like, for 3 seasons, we saying the same stuff. Sounds like a broken record, and it's only just frustrating people. It's almost like a person that's telling you, oh, we going to be right with you, when they go to the back and you don't see them no more. Like, come on, man. Like, help me. Help me. Let's see. Buck says, congrats for you guys' primetime games. Yeah, three Thursday night games. Them Thursday night games are a recipe for stacked up injuries. That's what you normally see too. I live in Ohio. Deshaun having issues with his shoulder again. Okay, Chantel. Well, thank you for that. We appreciate it. That's probably one of the main reasons why Jameis decided to go there. That's a smart decision. Get opportunity to play. If Deshaun Watson is hurt. I ain't wishing bad on the man, but, at the end of the day, that's a great opportunity for Jameis. And who knows? I mean, the Saints played Cleveland, week 5 or something like that? Let me see. Let me make sure I say that right. Let's see. No, they played the Chiefs. When did they play the Browns? They play the Browns. When do they play the Browns? I'm trying to look at the schedule here. Okay, they play the Browns week 11. Okay, so they play on week 11. So, I mean, yeah, he could be playing during that time. TJ says, ain't that much grit and pop in the world. We've been cleaning for years. Like, for real, man. We've been cleaning up. Man, that house squeaky clean. You know what I'm saying? Like, that house should easily get a plus from the board of health. Like, for real. Like, health inspector came through already. Like, he should like rub his finger on there, you know what I'm saying? Like, they should have no dust. As the Bible say, not a spot or a blemish. That house should be clean. Like, that house should be spick and span by now. You had 3 seasons to do this. Like that. Let's not continue to go down this rabbit hole. Like, sometimes you gotta call it for what it is. And right now, that ain't what it is. But I'm encouraging everybody. And once again, for those that just tuned in, I'm about to go live on Bleacher Report. That's going to be at 8 p.m. Eastern time. That's 7 p.m. Central. I'm asking everybody to download the Bleacher Report app and download the app. And the link is in the description. You hit that link, it'll bring you directly to the page. You'll be able to follow the live stream. So I will be predicting every single game for the New Orleans Saints in 2024. Won't do it here. We'll be doing it on Bleacher Report. So if you're not doing anything, you haven't signed up on the Bleacher Report app, you want to hear my predictions for the New Orleans Saints and what they're going to do in 2024, come on over to the Bleacher Report channel, and we're going to be doing a live stream there. So Kuzin says, TJ, you right on point. This is Dennis Allen do or die season, point blank, period. Yeah, I don't think people going to want to suffer through this again. Packers on Monday night. Oh, the Packers on Monday night? I think that may be a Monday night game. I apologize if I said, okay, yeah, it is a Monday night game. So I do apologize. Okay, so the Thursday night games are the Broncos, and I guess that's it, right? That's the only Thursday night game they have, if I'm not mistaken. Okay, so I stand corrected. on that. They have 2 Monday night games, and they have a game in prime time versus the Denver Broncos, the return of Sean Payton. So I apologize. Thank you for that, Key Stalwart. I didn't have it up on the screen, but you're right. So I take back what I said, having all those Thursday night games, and that made me sound like I was just hating. But all in all, like, I'm not a real big fan of Thursday night games. Monday night, okay, that's fine. But I mean, you're still traveling on the road for both of those Monday night games, so still be tough, and that favors the Kansas City Chiefs and the Green Bay Packers, especially going into Lambeau. Like, the Saints have been like really, really fortunate playing against the Green Bay Packers over the last few years. Like, they played them in a Superdome. That the year when Taysom Hill fumbled the football. I think that was like in 2020. Then last year they played them in September, where the weather was pristine. But now, you're going out there late, and it's gonna be snowing. It's gonna be cold. You're gonna find out a lot about your football team. But my final thoughts before we go to Bleacher Report. No game is easy. No game is simple. You gotta approach every game as if this team is undefeated and they one of the best teams in the league. We seen the New Orleans Saints go out there and make the most mediocre quarterback look like they just the second coming of Joe Montana. Come on, man. If you know you're a good team, if you know that you got talent, you know that you got ability, go out there and beat these teams, man. Go out there and put these boys out of their misery, all right? Show people that you have what it takes to be a playoff team. Dennis Allen, if you want to continue to be the head coach of the New Orleans Saints, go out there and show everybody that they were wrong about you. Derek Carr, if you want people to believe that you for real and you the quarterback and you're a franchise quarterback, go out there and win a game that matters. Put a team on your back. Make the fans believe in you. And I'm talking both of them. Now, can they do that? I don't know. But once again, you want to change the narrative. You want to show everybody you for real. You want to show everybody that you have what it takes to lead the charge. Like J-Rock said, you got to win. Win, 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 win. Bump everything else. Win, 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 win. All right? But this has been the State of the Saints podcast. Thank you all so much. I really do appreciate it. I ask that you subscribe to the YouTube channel, youtube.com, search The State of the Saints podcast. Also check out Gumbo Pot Sports Podcast. Once again, the description for the Bleacher Report, Saints Talk with TJ Jones. I'll be predicting all of the games on Bleacher Report right after this live stream. So once again, download the Bleacher Report app, hit the link, come to the page. It will start at 8 p.m. You'll be able to check that out live. Follow me on Bleacher Report. That way, when I do go live on Bleacher Report, you'll be able to get notifications on that. Previous episodes of this podcast are available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Anchor FM. Shouts out to everybody listening on any platform right now, X, Facebook, wherever you're checking this out. I really do appreciate it. Till next time, all I got to say is, who that?
Thank you for listening to my daddy's podcast.
Hey, don't let these tears fool you. There's all dog around this mug. I'm good.